The content in this magazine could contain references of topics and difficult subject matter that may be triggering. Please honor yourself, inner knowing, and proceed with whatever help or guidance you feel is intuitively aligned. Welcome to Sovereign Magazine Podcast. I'm Nicole George, CEO and founder of Sovereign. I'm so happy you are here. We are the magazine podcast and community guiding 5 million women to their sovereign selves. From heart-led conversations to magical meditations, our inspiring guests will show you how they can help you step into your sovereign self. Are you ready to listen to your inner voice and step into your power? Then keep listening to hear all of the intuitive messages meant for you today. Hello, today I have the privilege of reconnecting with Yolanda Williams, one of our amazing contributors. She is an energetic alchemy teacher, intuitive mentor, and the host of Reiki Radio podcast. Not only is she certified in wellness counseling, but she is also trained in multiple modalities of Reiki, and she supports global seekers and practitioners on their path to self-awareness and transformation, especially through her courses and podcast, and she shares tools for intuitive development and spiritual growth. Welcome, Yolanda.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me again.
Oh, I'm so excited. So for those of you who know about our special segment called Steps to Your Sovereign Self, you're definitely going to want to stick around because she's going to be sharing something she's actually going to be teaching later. So you're going to get a sneak peek into that. So today we are exploring the theme Free Yourself, which is our August full moon issue theme. And in your article, When the Universe Responds, you really go deeply into your moment of transition where you were previously living this life that looked completely right on the outside, but on the inside was very off. And you stayed in roles that made sense to everybody else, probably especially on paper, but left you feeling completely disconnected from your truth. And then came that quiet plead from the universe for you to do something more. And you answered it. And so for those who haven't read your article yet, maybe you can give a little bit of a recap.
Yes. So, in thinking about freeing myself, especially at that time, I prioritized what I thought was more responsible. So, there was a part of me that, yes, of course, wanted to be free and living the life of my dreams, even though I didn't know what that was. But I just wanted more of a sense of freedom. I was working in corporate. I worked in finance. It was very stressful. At the time, I was in my early 30s, and I was basically living based on what my mom said I was supposed to do in my life. And I have always been more of a creative, and my mom is not. And so I was doing everything, checking the boxes, being responsible. And again, the work environment that I was in was very stressful, but it paid well. I was comfortable in living. I had money to take care of myself and travel and do fun things with friends. And while at some level, I guess I had fun outside of work, but I wasn't fully satisfied. I was just in this routine, the day to day. It was mindless to some degree. And there was this like silent wanting or desire for things to change. And then the universe delivered. So I think it's one of the things we always have to keep in mind when people say, be careful what you ask for. It's not always what we ask for out loud. A lot of times, what the universe is responding to is like the ache of our heart and the true desire that we're broadcasting from our thoughts, from our emotions. And then events will happen like what happened for me. It was unexpected. I went through a layoff, but we knew it was coming for about a year. We were being acquired by another business, and a lot of people around me were freaking out. And I honestly, I there was this dull kind of freak out in the background, but the bigger part of me knew I was finally going to be free. in a way that I wouldn't have set myself free had the universe not intervened.
Mm. I resonate with this so much because just like you, I was in the corporate world making a lot of money with a pension and basically free healthcare and all of that, just completely dead inside. And so, I do want to touch on this in two different ways, but you really are teaching what healed you, which is Reiki and meditation. And you have the opportunity to show people how they can transform their life one step at a time, one baby step at a time. And one of the things we're going to go a little bit deeper into later, but I'd love to talk about this now, is really bring to the surface any woman who is feeling stuck in their just good enough life, right? I think we feel guilty by saying, I had everything somebody wanted, I had, but I still wasn't happy, and that made me feel guilty, right?
Yes.
But I don't think we need to be stuck in our just good enough lives, right?
Yeah. And it's funny, Nicole, when you say that, the first thing that came to mind is I had everything somebody would want. And that's the thing. We're often making these choices or staying in these spaces based on what some other person may want. And we really don't take into account that it's okay for us to want something different that resonates with us as individuals. And I often tell people, keep in mind, look at the world around you. Everyone isn't living a traditional lifestyle. There are many artists and musicians and healers and, just people doing all kinds of things that are non traditional, and their lives are full and they may feel fulfilled. And the only difference is that they believed that they could. So they directed their energy, their mind, their effort towards fulfilling, whatever felt more purposeful to them. And it can be a scary thing. And I am the first one to admit, had the circumstances of my life not happened where it was like the universe made a decision for me in a way, I would have never made that decision. As much as I wanted a change, I wouldn't have done it. So it was the greatest gift that the universe then said, well, now here's another option. Now you're opened up to new choices, new direction. But that was also the point we all have to recognize is our choice. I could have chosen to say, well, I'm going to go back into the same arena, back into the same type of work because it's safe. Or I can take this risk and go the way that I'm being guided, even though it was terrifying. But, and that's the thing too. Sometimes it's not always easy making a pivot, but we'll never know unless sometimes we take that leap of faith.
Inside the Sovereign community, you'll find more than a social platform. You'll find many private spaces led by women who walk the path with you, like Abby from Canada. Connect with her in her sacred space called Reclaimed and Rise. Step into the Maven Haven with Ebony from the UK, or join the Open Heart Collective with Bonnie from the US. These are just some of the soul sanctuaries curated by conscious women for conscious connection. Come find your space inside the Sovereign community today. I want to go into our steps to our sovereign self because you and I were chatting about this before, and you said a word and I'm like, well, what is that? Like, come on, tell me about this. I need to know more. So today you're going to be teaching about Hermeticism. And I was like, well, what's that? And so it aligned perfectly with this, because if you are a woman who doesn't feel like she has a choice, feels stuck in her just good enough life, but knows she has this yearning and desire within her body for more, then Yolanda is going to take you on a journey, because guess what? A lot of this is just being trapped in our mind and the stories that we tell ourselves and the story around our life and why we're choosing these things. So she's going to help you kind of peel back some of those layers today.
Yes.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So the study of Hermeticism, it's really ancient philosophy. And a lot of people study it because it focuses primarily on universal laws. And the reason that's so important, Nicole, is because we often are making choices and are functioning as if the universe is out to get us, when really we may not understand how it is functioning. So, in this area of study, there is a book that kind of simplifies it all. That's also a very well known book. It's called The Kabbalion, and it breaks down the seven universal laws. And the first law is that of mentalism. And what it says is that all is mind. So, in this arena, too, we always hear that we're all connected, we're separate from nothing, there's one collective consciousness, all of this. It points to one is mind, all is mind. And when you think of that, even when you think about what we create, everything, if you look around you in your life, everything came from someone's imagination. It started as a thought in someone's mind, and then maybe they were motivated to take an action, and then boom, we have these manifestations all around us. Well, the same is true of our lives. But again, what's dictating how we're making these choices and what we feel bound to? The thing that's so interesting is it's just story, and it's based on our perception. So for me, let's say back maybe 15 years ago when this all started, if someone would have told me, "You'll be meditating, teaching Reiki, and talking about Hermeticism," I would have thought they were crazy, because that was not the way that my mind was focused. These weren't things that I had an awareness of. I was only functioning from the stories passed down from my mother and society and culture, and, again, functioning in that frequency of what I thought I had to do. But ultimately, those patterns of thoughts were what informed my choices. And then those choices are what informed my experience, which was miserable. So, luckily, I started these practices that a lot of people identify as energy work, but really what you're doing is you're going through these processes of purifying your mind. So, with practices like meditation and with energy work, you are starting to move energy and congestion, old stories, and what we call energy blocks. All of these things finally start to move because they're no longer repressed or suppressed by the identification in the story you're trying to live through. So you redirect your mind to allow this new sense of clarity and awareness to come in. So, as it relates to universal law, now you are functioning from a different level of mind or consciousness and awareness, which then can inform different types of decisions and different kinds of results that land into be the life that you live. So it's really all interconnected. But again, the simple piece of it is it all tracks back to your mind. So, one of the big things for all of us and everyone listening, I mean, sit and really reflect on the life that you're living now is based on what? What story? What belief? What is the motivation? And write these things down and then ask yourself, is any of it true? Why do you have this belief? Where did these ideas come from? And again, is it true? And if you start to notice that some of what your motivation is based on fear, which often it is, what can you do to then kind of observe and play with and dismantle that? Do some like, well, what if it's possible for me to do something else? Or what really could be the higher potential or possibility of daring to try something new? Then you start shifting your mind. You start opening up where you were rigid before just by questioning. And now you've already kind of set yourself on a new trajectory of possibility just because you started witnessing and observing your own patterns and thoughts and consciousness.
Mm. I'm going to give somebody one step further on this because I remember I was the breadwinner. My husband was a stay-at-home dad at the time. He hadn't worked in almost 12 years. So how could I quit my job, right? Like making almost $200,000 a year and just like really living the life of luxury and being completely miserable. Somebody said to me, here's how you help yourself start deciding differently. And it was so simple. She said, close your eyes. Imagine yourself in a rocking chair on a porch and you're 90 years old. Would you look back and regret that you didn't make this decision? And the answer was yes, right?
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't want to go the rest of my life. When I thought about it, I was like, I'm 40. This was 5 years ago. I can't be working 50, 60 hours a week and being on call 24/7 and being called in the middle of the night and never having any time off and this. And the answer was yes. And so I had to figure out a way, right? So our brains love puzzles. And so
Yes.
once we give it something to work on, it's naturally going to want to succeed.
Yeah. No, it's very true. And it's so interesting too, Nicole, when we just think about what does happiness and joy, what does it really mean to us beyond what is external? Like, what is it that does create internalized peace for you, internalized joy for you? And again, a lot of people will tug a war with, well, I'll be happy when, or I'll be happy if. And if it's always determined by some externalized goals that we may or may not achieve, we're going to be stuck in a miserable space for a very long time. And a lot of us do achieve these goals and then still aren't happy anyway. So a lot of it even comes down to exactly what you did when you closed your eyes. Like, what is matters to your heart? What is the deeper thing that is going to give you a sense of peace, a sense of freedom, a sense of joy, and not just checking the accomplishment boxes that someone said you were supposed to do?
Absolutely. What a beautiful way to end our little segment as well is
Yeah.
looking at those check boxes and deciding what brings you joy. And for me and my husband, it was time. It actually wasn't money. So we spend so much time together now. So as you move through your day and you're thinking about your mind and your choices and your maybe just good enough life, figure out what boxes are going to make you feel like you have the best life because you only have this life. Oh, thank you so much for all of this wisdom today.
Thank you, Nicole. It's always fun.
It is always so much fun, and I cannot wait for the next one. Thanks for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with another soul-led entrepreneur here to help you step into your sovereign self. Subscribe to our magazine and podcast and join our global community for all the magic. Details to connect with today's guest or join the movement are in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. It helps us reach our goal of guiding 5 million women to self-sovereignty.